You're really close.
Do you have a small business in any local community and you seem like, gosh, I'm just struggling. I'm not sure how to get past that, whether it's a certain number, it's a volume of sales, whatever it is, it's a number of customers, but you can't seem to break through that ceiling. Well, today on the Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted podcast, we are going to uncover what we feel are the 3 reasons why you, as a small business owner, may be struggling in 2026. Welcome. I'm Jeff Harrison, along with
Leslie Spoor.
Hey, Leslie, last time we were together, you were kind of not under the weather. You were kind of like a tsunami of weather. You weren't feeling so well.
I got worse after that.
Jeez,
I'm still trying to recover.
Sorry to hear that.
Oh, that's better.
Well, you look a lot better.
Well, thank you. I was you were looking over there when you were talking, and I was trying to get in your eye line, but now it's better. Thank you.
Got you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still not 100%, but I've got 2 more days of antibiotics. So hopefully by then we leave for vacation on Friday. So I really, really want to be better before that.
Yeah. Well, today, first of all, I hope you get better every minute of every day. And so by the time you leave on vacation, you are full of Leslie vinegar and you know what else. So today we're going to talk about the 3 reasons why a small business struggles to grow in 2026. And it's not, we're going to talk about, we're going to discuss it and we're going to kind of peel it back. And because I think, Leslie, I think there are a lot of people out there, or let's say a fair number of people out there who own small businesses. And, they're in between this, should I do AI? Should I not do AI? Do I need to run ads? Do I not run ads? Do I do social media? Do I not? And it's like, they're in the shouldas. And, it's almost like, as a kid, if your parents got their car stuck and the wheel is just spinning, but they're giving a lot of gas, but they're not moving. I think there's a few businesses out there like that. So, I think it's going to be fun to peel this back today and really talk about it.
Yeah, it's a tough one because as a business owner, there are so many things that you have to consider, right? And I am a firm believer in social media promotion because I've seen TikTok and Instagram change people's lives. But when it comes to allocating funds to that, effort, people are reluctant to do it. They think they can do it themselves and that they don't have to spend for a professional to do it for them. And unfortunately, their time is more of a constraint than their fun. So they get overwhelmed by events. They can't, get out there and do videos and get on. And not everybody's good at them either. I have a friend, a licensee, actually, a software licensee in Florida who is exceptional at social media marketing. She does her own videos. She has a theme for every month. All of her stuff follows the same theme. And then the next month she starts something different. And she's really natural in front of the camera, but not everybody is as comfortable with that as she is, and I talk to business owners all the time when it comes to social media marketing in particular. I ask them, what are they doing? And most of them are doing nothing. And worse than that, their LinkedIn page, if they have one, has not been updated in years. If they have an Instagram account, they probably haven't posted anything on there in the last couple of years, because they just don't have time or the skill to do it.
Well, Leslie, I wonder if it's, and this is really, quite honestly, this is the first reason. I'm not sure is if they don't have time, they just don't have a process. There's no real roadmap to success because at the end of the day, this is something, we've been doing for clients now for going on 16 years. And it really comes down to a process, not really a time element. And once you have a process of okay, as an example, let's say you dedicated 1 hour a week to, let's say your gal in Florida, let's say she dedicated 1 hour a week to just doing a podcast, and it's a video podcast. but then everything spins from that podcast. In other words, her social media post, she can slice that 1 hour thing up, that 1 hour podcast up into smaller sections. She can take the transcript and turn it into a blog. She can do all kinds of social media posts from that blog, and using AI as an example. And you're saying, well, Jeff, that still takes time. But if she had a system where it's like, okay, I take my podcast, I drop it into this process, or I have a $7 an hour person from, the Philippines, that's what they love to do, that then they take it and do it. So I'm just wondering if it's a time element or it's they don't have processes.
Well, setting a date on the calendar is one thing, okay? But the bigger problem is you're talking about stuff that to you is super easy. This is not easy for everybody. It's not easy for me. That's why you do mine. It is, yes, there are all these apps out there and all these AI functions that can simplify or speed up the process of taking a video and breaking it into little pieces and converting things into blogs and whatnot. Are you gone? Oh, there you are. And then the knowledge of how to do that, having the app, taking the time to learn how to use it, and then applying that, and then that takes time. And so it isn't as simple as it seems. Simple for a digital marketing guru like yourself, but not simple for the average person. It just really isn't. I'd like to say that it should be, but it really isn't. Because even for me, you gave me HeyGen, for example, and I can tell that that's a really cool tool. I still have not had time to sit down and try to wrap my head around it to use it for anything.
That's why we're making your videos.
I know. Same with Claude. Claude is a great tool. I use ChatGPT, but Claude is a great companion to that. My sister, who started with Chat, has moved to Claude, and she really likes it. She thinks she gets better answers and things like that from it. But I don't know how she's using it necessarily. And she hasn't loaded all of her knowledge base into there. That makes it hard to change apps, right? Once you get all your information in the system, it's really hard to then start over somewhere else. Although I believe now you can import a lot of that across platforms, and I don't really want to get into all of the AI stuff today, but as from an average business owner standpoint, they're wearing so many hats, right? You know how it is. Even you, all the stuff that you do, I know you're now outsourcing other pieces of what you used to do yourself, right? And while outsourcing is the way to go, so you can have experts helping you, and with what's that thing, Upworks?
Mm-hmm.
You can find people all over the world. The world's very small right now. So you can find people all over the world that can do what you need them to do, so you don't have to do it. But all of that takes time. And when you're a small business owner, there's so many pieces of a business: marketing, networking, process improvements, customer service. There's all these things. And so you got too many hats. You can't focus on something that you feel is necessary, but not in your experience bucket. It's not part of what you do.
Well, then let's keep it simple. Let's say the process is only to create one piece of content every week. That's all. And the piece of content is, let's say, a 15 to 20-minute podcast talking about things that you already know about specifically, because that's the magic, right? That's the magic of you individually, is no one knows your business or its business like you. And so, it's like us sitting down and talking about something. We can speak from a language of, well, these are the pain points. These are the challenges my ideal customer has. How can we help them? We know what they're going through. We know how they feel. Take 15, 20 minutes and talk about that, and then not go into a sales process, but teach them how to do something. So as an example, and that's all you do. That's it. And what if you said, okay, I don't have I don't have the cool microphone. I don't have the headphones. I don't have a, thousands of dollar camera. Pick up your phone
Yeah.
and say, I'm going to get a $3 tripod that I can set on my desk or set on my kitchen counter, and I'm going to turn it on and I'm going to hit record. And then I'm just going to simply upload it directly to YouTube on my business account or my, whatever my account is. And that's it. That's all I want you to do. There's your process.
Yeah, that's
isn't that better than what you said when you talk to your licensees and they say, I'm doing nothing? That's like owning this beautiful farmland.
I know.
You walk out there every day and say, how come nothing's growing? Because
I try to, you'd be surprised how many people are still not comfortable picking up a phone and talking into it. Getting video testimonials even for our 5-day challenges has been a strain because people aren't comfortable. Some will happily write a testimonial because they believe in what they learned and enjoyed it and got a lot of benefit from it, but they don't want to put a camera up in front of themselves to tell the world that they liked it. And the video is so much more beneficial. It's tough. I know that it sounds ridiculous to somebody like you who's got on the video like all day, but for a lot of people, it's very hard.
Well, here, I'm going to share with you a story, and hopefully it will make a lot of sense, because this isn't something that we need to debate whether you should or it's difficult, whatever. I'll tell you a little story. There was this guy. He walks into the bar, and there's this old man sitting there, and the older man was dressed really nice in a 3-piece suit. He was, he had a nice big watch on and whatnot. And this younger guy says, sir, he says, do you mind me asking you a question? He says, what? He says, you look like you're very successful. Do you mind if I ask what you did? He said, well, how bad do you want to know? He says, well, I'd really like to know. I'm young in my career, and I really don't want to spend a lot of time doing the wrong things. And he said, I'll tell you what. He said, why don't you meet me tomorrow on the beach at 5 a.m. And he said, I'll tell you everything you need to know. He says, okay, well, really? He says, if you really want to know bad enough, you'll show up. So the guy shows up, and, because he's thinking now this guy's in a suit. So he shows up in a suit. He only owns one suit. He shows up, and the guy says, okay, has his hand, starts walking out to the water. And the guy's thinking, this guy's nuts. What are we walking out into the ocean for? Mm-hmm. And he kept walking out, and all of a sudden they're about chest high in water. And the guy grabs him and pushes his head underwater. And the guy's thinking, I'm going to die. And he fought, and he struggled, and he struggled, and he struggled. Finally, the guy let his head out of the water. He says, what are you doing, old man? And he says, when you want something as bad as you want to breathe, nothing will stop you. The excuses will melt away. There are no excuses. So if you want to sit there and give yourself this, I can't do it because of this, I don't have the technology, get your phone. Oh, I'm afraid to be in front of the phone. Get over it.
You're absolutely right. I'm playing devil's advocate today from the experience I have from talking to dozens of people, hundreds of people about their businesses, and telling you the reasons why. I'm a how can I person. That I will do whatever it takes. And you're right. Life is about priorities. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. And when I start talking, and it's kind of embarrassing because when I start talking about all the stuff that either I've accomplished or I am in the process of building, people look at me, it's like intimidating to people, and I'm just a high output person, but you can accomplish, I'm not special that way. I mean, anybody can do it. You just have to make things a priority. And another thing you mentioned I think is important for people is that using your calendar to schedule activities really helps, especially in the beginning when you're not good at setting priorities. If you put something on your calendar, we have a tendency psychologically to honor that commitment. It's like a commitment, right? So then we'll go, like when we do podcasts weekly, it's on my calendar. So I know I need to not schedule anything for that time. And if you notice, I've been so much better about not asking to move something because I've gotten in the routine of it and it's a commitment and it's on the calendar. We've been doing this, 2 years already? I love these podcasts. I wish more people would listen to them, but I really love doing them. And I think business owners they really need a roadmap, an outline of what to do. The last person I did a 5-day challenge with, that's what she needed. She knew what to do. She needed somebody to write it down for her and put it into manageable bites. So I did that for her, and she's working through the list. And so I believe she's making good progress and she's really happy with it. But sometimes that's what people need. They need somebody else, a sounding board, somebody else to help them. You and I do that all the time. We brainstorm off each other quite a bit, either for something in your business or something in mine. And I think that's super helpful. And everybody should have somebody like that to talk to, a coach, a mentor, a consultant, somebody that they can talk to that will help them, hold them accountable. A lot of it comes down to that. What holds you accountable when you work for yourself in one room in a vacuum with nobody to talk to?
Yeah.
It's hard.
Well, I think, before we move on to the second piece, I just want to give maybe some ABCs, because I think that's what's missing. If you had to give somebody a 3-step process to, I think we're talking about, we could talk about anything. You could talk about your payroll system, your marketing system, your ordering system. If you have, widgets that you have to, replace because they've been sold, it's scheduling for, if you have service like a HVAC or a carpet cleaning company, that type of thing. There's a process. And
Mhm.
it seems like that's one of those things where somebody says, I'm so busy, I can't. And it's usually because they're missing the process. And that's
Yeah,
really
I think
why you wanted to point this first one out.
yeah, to me, the first thing anybody should do, and if you have a different perspective, by all means, this is a
I'll
conversation,
never
so
argue with you. Yeah.
you can argue with me all you want. I may not listen to you. I mean, that's kind of how it goes. I'm female. I don't have to listen to anybody. Um, the first the first thing I always recommend for people is to do some kind of a time study and to evaluate where their time is actually going. Because most of us aren't aware of how much time we waste, playing games on our phone or watching TV or distracted by the kids or putting chores in between work stuff and and work is a lower priority. I mean, when you start your own business, it has to be a priority. So doing a time study allows you to see exactly where you're putting your time if you're honest about it. Do you get caught up in, I always use Pinterest as my example because that's the one I can get hung up in for, lose an hour or two. If I get an email that says, "Oh, look what's on Pinterest." And I go, "Oh, let's look." And then all of a sudden 2 hours are gone. So, when you become aware of that, consciousness is the biggest change agent in your life. When you recognize something about yourself or about what you're doing or about how to do something, once it becomes conscious, you can change it. It's only when you're unconscious in your life that things just kind of roll along without any direction. So the first thing would always be to do a time study. Um, do you agree with that? Because you're just kind of looking at me.
I would say, if it were me, and again, now this may be the male mind thinking, is I want to ask, first of all, let me back up for a second. I think there's resistance subconsciously or consciously when we say we have to give up Pinterest. Like, well, that's something I love to do. Like, it's like, all play or all work and no play makes
Yeah,
Johnny a
yeah.
dull boy. And so while I think it's important, if somebody says, well, I don't have time for that, versus I don't know how to do it. And so I would say this, I would love to say, if somebody says out there, says, mine isn't about marketing or social media, it's about making sure I get payroll done. Great. Start with the end in mind. What does a successful completed payroll look like? And then break it
Right.
down and say, okay, what needs to happen here? Okay, what needs to happen here? And all of a sudden it's like, it's a step one. And you say, well, it's only 6 steps. So if I do this, this, and this, it's building upon itself. And I was speaking to a group a couple of weeks ago, and I said, what is the best way to build a block wall? And they started
One
going
brick at
all
a
this
time.
stuff. And I said, no, one block at a time.
Yeah.
That's a process. And if you just keep doing that process, you're going to look up and you're going, oh my God, I've got a 6-foot wall or 5-foot wall, whatever it is. So I'd like to say, start with the end in mind and then break it down into bite-sized chunks, because you mentioned it needs to be bite-sized. Break it down into bite-sized chunks and say, what needs to happen if I get there? Then if to get
Yeah.
there, what I have to do. And it just kind of breaks it down. And now while you're doing this, write it down and say, is this a process I can now follow? And now I'd say, look at the time, look at your time study and say, do you have time to do this? No. Well, then you need to analyze your time and say, oh, I am spending 7 hours a week on Pinterest, and this only takes 2 hours to get done. Okay, that's what I can do. I cut back 5 hours or 2 hours. That'd be one of the things I would say to
I
create a
totally
process.
agree with the need to identify the process that things take. 100%. You know me, I'm huge on process and procedures. But the people I've dealt with don't always know obviously they don't know what they don't know. But beyond that, they don't always realize how much effort they're spending on all these different things, on payroll, on talking to clients, on onboarding a client, on this. Once you identify, and this is why I say do the time study, but once you identify where your time is going, and of those things, which ones really do you have to do, right? Because I want to outsource the rest of it or delete them altogether if I don't need them. Then you break those down into process. In our software, we have it set up in a workflow, um, a workflow configuration, so that this builds on this, builds on this, builds on this. And I've tried to teach my employees to visualize that workflow, because if you follow the process step by step, then you don't second guess yourself anymore. Right. And in the beginning, your process may not be efficient, but at least it's documented. Then you can go back and say, okay, how can I reduce the time it takes to do this process? And that's kind of the fundamental aspect of continuous process improvement. How can I streamline this and get rid of the waste in it so that it's more efficient and therefore more productive, and then therefore more profitable? Right. So I agree with you. Process is really key, and it's another one of those things that people who are looking for reasons why they can't do something are saying, "I don't have time to do that." Really, if you get down to the heart of the matter, it isn't a time issue. In that case, it's I don't understand how to document this issue.
Well, then if we said ABCs, let's say 3, since we're talking 3, is first is decide what the outcome looks like,
Mhm.
break it down into steps, and then decide, is this something you have to do or delegate or delete it? Right?
Right.
Is it really necessary? So that would be the 3 steps.
Right.
And then it's just a matter of implementing it, isn't it? Doesn't that seem
Yeah,
kind of like, hey, that
sounds
fits
oversimplified, but yeah.
it
Yeah.
fits the bill.
Yeah. I use my puzzle metaphor quite a bit, because when people start a business, laying down the outside of that business is pretty easy, because those are all technically the flat pieces. I have to have a name. I have to have a business card. I have to know what I'm selling. I need to know who my target client is. You have all these pieces around the edges. It's the stuff in the middle that's hard. Social media, AI, marketing, networking, employee management, customer service. There's all these pieces, and a lot of people don't understand how to fit that puzzle together. And especially not to how to fit that puzzle together so that it benefits their life, because we all start a business for a reason. And I don't think initially the reason is just to make money. I mean, obviously,
Or to work 7 days a week.
or to work 7 days, 16 hours a day, like I have a tendency to do, or not so much anymore. But in the beginning, I did that consistently for years and years and years. Not healthy. I don't recommend that, but I do recommend putting effort into your business and making it a priority. And it's hard to see people struggle so much for things that they don't have to. If you get these processes written down, first of all, if you decide what processes you need. Of the things you're doing, what do you have to do? Absolutely
Mm.
have to do. I've told this story a lot of times, and you know it. The first thing I outsourced was bookkeeping because it was driving me insane. It's such an easy thing to do, although a lot of people don't do it. A lot of people still have their shoe boxes,
Yeah.
but but bookkeeping is super easy. It's just a discipline. Enter your bills, enter your invoices. It's not that hard. Reconcile it at the end of the month. But it was so routine that I was just sick of it. I didn't. I thought I was going to throw the computer through the wall. I did not want to do it, and so then I'm like, how do I afford to outsource this? Because I was thinking of everything in terms of hours and how many hours do I have to work to afford um, a bookkeeper. And then once I finally bit the bullet and did it, my business grew like crazy because I had time. First of all, I was happier. And second of all, I had the time to go then and do more marketing and networking that I wasn't spending sitting in my office doing data entry because that's a waste of my expertise. And I think that's true for a lot of business owners. I mean, is it something you have an accountant or somebody that takes care of
Mhm.
stuff like that for you?
Yep.
Is that because you don't like to do it? Is that because
It's
you
just not my
realize it?
expertise,
Yeah,
not the highest
they
and best use of my time.
exactly. That's really what it is. It's not the highest and best use of your time because you're such a genius on all this AI stuff and all these um, avatars and what do you call it? Agents that you can make programming agents to do things. Um, why would you want to sit there and pound keys to put in, a $12, I was gonna say gas receipt, but there is no such thing as a $12 gas receipt,
You get a
not in
gallon.
not in if that, not in California.
Um,
But you know what I'm saying is it doesn't make any sense. And a lot of the people that we work with, a lot of the business owners, they understand that, but maybe it's easy for them to pound keys and it's safe. You do get stuck in your office. I don't know if
well,
you
we
ever
think,
found that to be
well, let me
true.
ask you this. Don't we think sometimes we as business owners, especially early on, and sometimes later on in your business, is you think, I'll do this and save money
Yeah,
by doing it myself. It's
right.
not even, they're even not even in the situation where like, no one can do it as well as I can, because that's early on. Like, why should I hire somebody else? Because I do it better than somebody else and I'd spend
Or
more
I don't
time
wanna
and
take the
attention.
time to tell them. I can do it faster.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
so I think it comes down to thinking, well, I'll just save a buck and I'll spend 9 hours on my bookkeeping when I could have been 9 hours doing something totally different that's bringing you, like you just said, hey, when you hired somebody to do your bookkeeping, your business grew. It didn't struggle to pay for that bookkeeper. It grew
right.
as a result of you freeing up that time. So I think first of all, fail to have a process, ABCs, right? Start with the end in mind, break it down into bite-sized steps, and then decide who to delegate or what to delete, and then roll it out. And then, as you said, step four would be and constantly examine the outcome. Is that what you want? And then if it's not, go back and examine the steps. I'll give you a perfect example. Yesterday, I was building something and it was an image generator, is automated image generator for clients, and it was quite intricate. I'd show it to you on screen, but it'd blow your mind. It's very intricate. And so what I would do is I would fix one piece and it would fail. Like there were probably 40 different steps in this process. And so it would get to a certain point and it would fail. And I'd look and say, why did it fail? Well, I really knew right away, Leslie, it had nothing to do with downstream. Upstream. It was downstream. So then I had to see what was going on there. I'd fix it and it'd go to the next one and then the next one. And then it would skip like 7 and it would go. And so I just kept examining, is that the outcome that I was looking for? No, it had a failure and I kept working on it. And yesterday by 5 o'clock, I'm like, yes, it's done. It works. And I've tested it and it's exciting. And it was the last piece. So that's kind of the idea. This process is not a one and done, because I know
No.
you are the process queen, where you will ask your people, hey, if you see something not right and you want to process, let me know. Put it
Right.
in there because we only want to make a mistake once, because if it's a mistake, it's something we do over and over again. But if we do it once and learn from it and make a process so it doesn't happen again, wow, that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's why my employee manual is like this thick because I write a procedure for everything. If somebody makes a mistake, it gets a procedure so that people won't make that mistake later. And actually, that's worked really, really well, especially when I have a new hire. They've read all the procedures, but until you're out in the field working, it doesn't always come together for you. And so if somebody will call me and say, "Hey, what about this situation?" I'll say, "Well, if you look at the procedure for da 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 da, it will explain that to you." And I make them go back and read the procedure. I could tell them, but it's not going to stick with them as well as constantly going back to that procedure book, it's electronic, and reviewing all these procedures. And eventually, over doing that over time, they become routine for them. And actually, I do the same thing we do a monthly staff meeting. And so I do the same thing there. We pick 2 or 3 procedures based around whatever the topic is going to be for that meeting, and then review those procedures as well and see if there's any enhancements that need to be made to them, because you're right, um, as your business grows, procedures change, situations change. We have a HR procedure for, well, actually, we have a home check procedure, and I had a situation where somebody actually took an animal with them to the property,
Wow.
and because the procedure didn't say you couldn't, I had difficulty getting compliance. Okay. So I had to go in and update the procedure for all future situations. It said no, nobody that's not an employee and nobody that's not an approved vendor, and no animals,
Mm.
no kids. I try to think of all the things that people could do. No friends,
Can't take your ferret.
yeah, can't take the fare, can't take anything, so that people wouldn't. And they get all um, hostile sometimes because if you don't take the time to explain why they can't do this, I mean, people have allergies to animals. Animals dig. Animals leave little deposits around, or fur, and so you have to be conscious of. In business, you need to be conscious of potential liability, and um, just saying, "Well, I took my dog because I didn't have anywhere else for him to go that day." And it turns out that the client where that person was at actually is allergic to dogs.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, I didn't know that at the time all this went down, but she really is allergic. So, I was not wrong in what I was asking for. And besides which, it's my business and I can run it however I want to.
That's
you
right.
know so, and that's true for all of us. I mean, we start these businesses and they should, within reason, they should, and within a proper framework of um how to run a business. There is one way to run a business. I call it the happy path framework, right? There's a happy path through business that's the same for every kind of business out there. I don't care if it's software, digital marketing, um, food service, retail, manufacturing. It doesn't matter. It's all the same as far as the structure of a business. And if you put those components in place, then you have a much higher probability of being successful. What I can't guarantee is that somebody's going to put in the effort and the continuous improvement of these things and evolve as the society evolves and your business grows, and all of that. Because depending on what you're trying to build, and correct me if I'm wrong in this, if you're trying to scale your business, there are steps to that also that you have to take in order to be able to do that. And automation and technology are really big components of that. Which is why all this AI stuff is so exciting. I know that a lot of people are afraid of it, but it'll get used for nefarious purposes. It has been for years before AI. Just programming was used there's a lot of bad people out there. And, but in general, I really believe that AI is going to be good for us in the long run, you
I
know?
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so we have absolutely processed this to the max, but the big thing is I think it's going to make your life and your staff's life, if you have staff, more efficient. And quite frankly, I have this idea before we go on to this next one is, since you said your policies and procedures is electronic, my question is, why wouldn't you have an app called WWLD? What would Leslie do?
I
And
should.
anytime a client, or excuse me, anytime a staff member is curious about something, they just put it in there and they can ask the question, and all that information is electronically in there, and it can answer and say, well, this is what we should do. And now you're
Now
on
you
call
know I wanna do
24/7,
that now, right? Because that's
24/7,
I can totally see how that would work, and it's just like the chatbot. I mean, it's not
except it's
really any
you.
except it's me, and it's, and that the information is, not necessarily the website, it's the, um,
It's only your
it's all the
procedures book.
procedures. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, let's do
yeah.
that. I wanna
Okay,
do
here we
that.
go.
Give
So this next
See,
one is
this
something.
is this is your fault that I keep you monopolized. I just wanna go on the record
Uh,
because you're constantly giving me ideas that I can see how they can work because we've worked together so long. I know how your mind works. Well, it is scary, I will
she's
say.
manipulating me right here on
I know.
camera.
No, I'm not. Yes, I am. You just like brilliant, and I can go, "Oh my god, what a great thing that would be." Instead of
Now
sending
it's
them
like,
to box, I can just
yeah,
have a www okay, I want that.
it's an app, baby, and
Can I have
everybody
that before I
download
get
this.
back?
And
Can I have that before I get back from vacation?
yeah, I think that's an easy one. So,
It's super easy. I can even do that. I mean,
all right.
I can't program it, but yeah.
So here's the next one. You work in a silo. They spend all
Oh,
their time working in their business instead
yeah.
of on their business. And
This
I
is a
think,
big one.
yeah,
You do this.
well, I think I do this, or do you mean
You
you want me to do this one?
No, no. I'm saying you work in your business, and we've been working on getting you out of it. I mean, you've been delegating more and more things, which is really, really good. Um, because there's been a time where you were deep into all the editing and the uh, clipping of the videos, and the putting the music on there and all this stuff. And now you've either automated it or delegate it to somebody that can do it for far less than your hourly rate, right?
And better.
And better because that's their area of expertise.
Yeah.
And so I'm huge on this working on your business instead of in it. That's my, I don't know if you can see it, but my Freedom by Design book is all about how to build a self running business so that people can, to me, that's the epitome of success, pure definition of success. Can I walk away from my business and it functioned properly without me touching every single thing? I told you I'm going on vacation and I'm not even going to take my laptop this time
Wow.
because the
Wow.
last few
You better get
vacations,
that app. You better get that app made pretty quick.
I know the last few vacations though, I haven't had to even open it,
Hmm. That's
you know,
good.
so, so it's going to be like ripping my heart out not to take it. Ugh. But I have a phone. And if there's something going on, I need to be a part of it. I can do it that way. Wouldn't be able to write a big old procedure, but I'm on vacation, so I shouldn't have to do that anyway.
Well,
Um,
I,
so
I want to defend this just a little bit, and I'm not trying to create an out. I'm trying to create or create an excuse. But I think early on, we do need to work in our business,
yeah.
because I think what that does, it sets the understanding, the real life experience of what that really means to do that particular task you've just delegated, or this particular process that you've now put in place and now you've delegated. I'll give you an example. I build automations, and I thought, well, you know what? I have several automations I want to build right now. So I'll hire somebody who said they know how to do this, and I'll hire them to do this. And I thought it would take maybe an hour. And because I've done it before. And so the guy comes back and I said, well, how long did it take? He said, it took me 8 hours. All I could think of is this guy is much more skilled than I am. I could do it in an hour. He did it in 8 hours. I felt like I got ripped off. He's no longer part of my organization because he took advantage of something, because it was in a situation where he didn't delegate or he didn't document his time like all my other staff does, because he said because he's working on these other locations that he couldn't take screenshots of, which is BS. And so I think that's one of those things where you can call BS on somebody where because you've walked that road, you've walked in those shoes and you know exactly what's going on. So if somebody says, "Well, it took me 10 hours to edit that video." You're going, "That's baloney. It should take you with your skill level an hour." And that's why I don't pay you $7,000 for that video, right?
Right.
And so I think from that standpoint, that is really good at working in your business. But there is a point where you have to say, tag out. Now I'm working on my business, and I have now found people that do this that I can trust and
Yeah,
that
let's
do work in those constraints, if you will, not constraints, but those time frames that are real.
parameters, yeah.
Yeah.
So, just to define, because these are both prepositions in and on, and so to define that in your business is
What was
actually
that? They're both prepositions in and on. I'm
yeah,
just a
in and
kid from
on.
West Texas. I mean, I'm saying, okay, go ahead.
I'm a writer and an English person, so, uh,
Jeez, and she doesn't even have an accent.
I know, Um, in your business means doing the task yourself or interfacing with everything yourself or solving every problem, and everything has to go through you. You become
Okay.
a bottleneck and a constraint when every aspect of your business goes through you. On your business means you're doing the marketing, the network, the client interface when it's necessary, the decision making at a high level, and you're monitoring the health of your business through metrics. And in my case, I use reporting tools for metrics that are management by exception, so that I look at what's not getting done timely in order to see how my business is doing, because my people are responsible for timely transactions, right?
Okay.
So, but that doesn't mean you don't ever go back in your business. I recently had to go back in because I lost two people at the same time, and I had to train somebody myself because one of them that I lost was a trainer, and I felt like I had failed
Mm,
for a bit, because I work so hard to work on my business, and I espouse this, and I'm a huge advocate for working on your business, and now I have to go back into it. But what I found is that, first of all, it's temporary. I don't have to stay in the day to day. I can let it go once he gets trained, which he is trained, and it's good to get back in. When I got back in helping to do the training, I realized a couple of things right away. One is we needed to change the software because, as good as it was, there was another avenue that would have made it even better. So I made that change to make my employees' lives easier. And two was they were some tools that they needed. And when I say tools, it's not like a hammer. It was a squeegee, because so many bathrooms that we take care of now are massive. They're wet rooms. These homes have these great big spa-like bathrooms, and we run water, and then we have to dry everything out. And without a squeegee or one with a telescoping handle on it, that's really cumbersome to do.
yeah,
And so
good
I
point.
didn't realize that till I was out in the business, right? So instantly I bought them telescoping squeegees, and they were like, "Thank you, thank you." I said, why didn't you tell me?" All you have to do is say, what would be helpful, and I'll make that happen. But I don't know why people are reticent to tell you when their job is hard. I want to make it as easy as possible for them, because the easier I make it, right? And this, the easier you make it, the more that gets accomplished, the better service gets done.
Yeah.
Even if you're in restaurant business, if you make the job for your wait staff easier, they can provide better customer service, hotter food, faster turn up tables. I mean, there's just all these things that they could do if you made their life easier. If you buy dishes that weigh 10,000 pounds, it's hard to carry those trays.
Yeah.
And so there's just a lot. What's their uniform look like? Is it comfortable? Can they move around? Is it, professional, but yet still easy for them to navigate? You know what I mean? It's like there's
Sure.
so many ways you can make things easier. So I find it interesting, the difference between working on and in your business. That's what was that show, that TV show, the Boss show? What was it called? Something
Undercover
about
boss.
Undercover Boss, yeah. That's what they would do. They would go back into their business to see how it was actually functioning,
Yeah. If it
and
was
they
still
got
living up to their vision, right?
right, and they really got eye-opened. I didn't watch a lot of those episodes, but I know there were some, aha moments that happened because those people were actually, surprised to find out how things functioned, or if their philosophy didn't float all the way down, or if the process had fallen apart someplace. So it's good to go back in
I
sometimes.
think I think sometimes too that what happens is your staff is out there. It's almost like they're in the battlefield. So they're just doing whatever it takes to win that particular battle for that day. And
Right, yeah,
they do that over and over again, and it becomes part of their, excuse my expression, weaponry, right? It becomes that's just who they are. And then they don't say anything to it because they've gotten used to the fact that, you know what, they had to, get a ladder out to wipe off those mirrors that are now 9 feet tall.
yeah.
Versus say, hey, Leslie, can we get a telescopic squeegee? Oh, geez. Yeah, sure.
And one of the things I have found over the years of working with companies, and I had this one story that just has stuck in my mind for this was like 83
Oh
or
my
80. I
God.
mean, that's how long ago
Some
this
time on the
happened.
couch, girl. You need some time on the
I
couch.
I know. It just always sticks in my mind. Line workers, the employees, whether they're at your customer level or low, wherever they're at on the food chain, they always think they know more than their bosses.
Mm,
And that's generally because their bosses have different, job descriptions, and they're not as close to whatever you're working on, than as you are. So that's why it's, again, using the analogy of in or on. Sometimes it's good to work in so that you can refamiliarize yourself with, you don't lose track of what the little guy goes through, right?
yeah.
And so, I was working at this company. I don't think they're around anymore, so I can say their name, but it's called Tandem. They used to build disk drives, and they were
Mm,
uh, big I mean, now it's probably on a chip like this big, but at the time they were these big computer disk drives. And, um, the boss we had was just a total whack job. She really did not know anything. Do you know what a resistor is?
yes.
It's an
Yes.
electrical component that slows down the energy as it goes through, right? It
Yep.
resists the energy. All
Yep.
right. So there's a color code for that. And I would give you the color code, but it's not exactly, podcast friendly, but it's a way to remember the colors of the, resistors and the bands on the resistors and what they mean.
Okay.
And so white is 0. White is just, it's a 0. It
Okay.
doesn't do anything. It's basically like a jumper. It just the electricity just
Just a
flows
pass
right through.
through. Yep.
It's just pass through, right? And it just connects to circuits. So I had this boss and I told her that I needed a 0 resistor because I knew she didn't know. I knew she didn't know. And I said, I really need a 0 resistor. And she spent half a day looking through inventory for a freaking half a 0 resistor.
God. Oh my gosh.
And I thought, "Oh my god." And I was only like, I don't know, 20 something at the time, and I was like, "This person, why did these people get positions of authority when they don't even know what they're doing?" And so I've never forgotten that story, right? And then so as I lead people, and all of the time that I've led people over the last 40 years, I remember that story and think, "Don't be stupid. Don't lose sight of where you came from, who you are, how you want your business to run." Because when you're a single sole proprietor, you may not even have employees yet. So you can do whatever you want and build it up however you please. But once you start bringing in help, you don't want to lose sight of that you used to do that,
Mm,
you know? And
right.
so, um, I just kept see her coming back saying, "I just can't find one." It's like,
God.
just never forgot that. So, you know, when we lead people, when we're leading anybody, um, we need to be aware of, I did walk in your shoes. I know what it's like. I am not better than you. Right. And so once in a while, I need to go back and walk in those shoes again to see what
Yeah,
they're not telling me, to see
true.
how I can help them, to see what do they need to make their job. That's the first question I ask anybody as a consultant, as a coach, as doing my 5-day challenge. The first question I ask, well, 2 questions. One is, what is your biggest problem that you feel like you have? And 2 is, if you could have anything in the world to make your life easier, what would it be? And when we were first implementing software way back, I'm not talking about my software, I'm talking about in aerospace. When we were first implementing software, um, I would say that to people and they would say, "Ugh, yeah, but you can't do it." And I said, "Software can do anything. We can make software do any." This is way before AI, way, decades. But we can do anything. And I could write a spec for the software people or the IT people to create reporting tools for people to make their job easier. And that's the thing you're looking to do as a business owner. My opinion, not only are you growing your company, not only are you trying to be profitable, not only are you trying to build a name for yourself and a brand, you are also respecting the people that help you do that. Honor the sponsors. Your employees are sponsors. They put a face on your business. And so you need to get to the point where you can work on your business instead of in it so that you can grow it and scale it. But you shouldn't forget where you came from, and you shouldn't fear getting back into it every once in a while just to see what's changed for people.
I think also just to put my little bow on that is to say, just like you said, hey, the first person you hired was X, fill that in. As you're transitioning from in to on, ask that question. If I had to make one hire today, who would I hire that would make the greatest impact, not on the bottom line, but giving me my most time so I could be more productive for my overall company?
Right,
And
exactly.
it may be like, well, if I hired somebody to answer the phones or do my scheduling, great. Now that that's freed up, you go do your thing. And it might be going to maybe joining a BNI group, maybe being more active in your chamber of commerce, maybe having meetups with people, coffee one-to-ones with potential business owners that be your ideal customers, whatever that is. Or in your case, you talked about, or maybe you get in the truck with your HVAC service people and you go on some calls.
Right.
That's working on your business, not in your business. So that's all I would say with that. Let's go to the next one because we're really short on time now, Leslie. You've been talking a lot. She really is well because she's talking a lot.
I'm feeling better. Yeah.
So the last one is consistent or any marketing was an afterthought or not considered at all. Just thought, build it and they will come. I can't tell you how many times, Leslie, I've spoken to business owners that are new. They're new business owners. And they've budgeted for the sign, they budget for the website, they budget for their logo, they budget for the equipment, and they got no budget for marketing.
I know.
And
I see it all the time.
well, what were you expecting to happen? Well, I just thought, we would open up and people would come to us. Sorry, gang, we are so distracted and our brains are so full with so much stuff going on every day that you have to be out there in your marketplace. And it's getting, I have to be honest with you, it's getting tougher
It
moving
is.
from Google and keywords to Google and AI being, being cited,
Yeah,
meaning
I don't
you're
think
cited as
people
an
realize.
authority.
I know we talk about a lot on the podcast, but and we do that because it is such an important topic, and so it's going to affect so many business owners, but the little guys are the ones that are going to get hurt the most because
Or they could have the greatest
yes.
lift too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They have the biggest opportunity. The big companies are going to hire AI experts and they're going to get themselves positioned, but the little guys could easily get left behind unless they understand the value of uh, AEI, automated
AEO.
AEO, engine optimization, right? And so, and what that means, which is, and you're the expert, so I'm just parroting what you tell me, but the
I'll let you know
ability
if I
for
didn't say that.
huh?
I'll let you know if I didn't say that.
Okay. Well, the ability for AI to find you, you know, because the SEO world, while it's kind of a hybrid right now, is rapidly going away.
Yeah.
And so people who rely only on SEO are going to find themselves invisible, literally invisible. Now, we have spent a lot of time, I know you have with your clients, me included, to make sure our websites and our content and our videos and our blogs and all that stuff are AEO optimized or AI optimized so that the AI bots can find us. There's a certain way you have to lay this stuff out. And for those small businesses who grab the bull by the horns and do it right now, they are going to be positioned to be the first found, the first called. I'm getting calls already, Jeff, on stuff you've done for me where people say, I found you on ChatGPT
Cool.
all the
That's
time.
exciting. I love
Yeah.
that.
And even I had a lady call me on Friday night that found me on Google, but Google's also AI
Google
optimized
Gemini,
now.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she said that's where she found me. So um, you're creating a huge benefit for me um, and all of the clients that are contracted with you are positioned well, and so marketing is very important today. It's always been important, but especially right now with AI. Um, People got to redo their stuff and it doesn't take a lot. You can optimize a website if you had to pretty quickly, right?
Pretty quickly, yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, compared to building it from scratch or,
Well, I mean,
what
it depends on the complexity of the website when it starts, right?
right.
But if let's say, for instance, a typical local business that has no blog and, no location pages, what we call city pages, that type of stuff, it doesn't take long and it would make a big impact. I mean, we did this with a brand new client, a doctor, and she wanted a website. And we spun up a few blogs for her. We made sure we made the website for her as basic as she wanted, and it was performing. I would say in month one, it was performing at about a 9-month run rate. It was already
Wow.
performing at what would have been at 9 months, and it
Wow,
was
that's
like
amazing.
everybody could walk away happy.
Yeah, I've got a note here on my desk to get a quote for location pages, and I need to update the front page of Executive Errands to reflect the new approach to marketing that we're taking, which is experience based rather than task based.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to just write content that's easy plug and play on that. But I definitely need to get location pages because we say what we do, but we don't have specific pages for that. Those aren't visible on the site themselves, right? Those are background pages. Is that what
Yeah,
they are?
they are. They're background. But as an example, let's say for instance somebody says, who does XYZ, and it happens to be your business, what you do in Indian Wells, California. And you have
Yeah,
a location page for Indian Wells, and then that location page, it has your services, but then in addition, blogs are also created that are linked to that particular location pages. You're going to show up even though your business isn't located in that specific city. And yeah, but they're in the background, but I would be drawn to that page and I could have confirmation saying, yeah, oh, Leslie's business does do business in Indian Wells, California. Let me give her a call because
would
she's
it just
local.
be a copy of the homepage, but for
No,
each city? Oh, it's
no,
completely different.
it's completely different. It's written. There's think of a location page as this, and not to get too expanded because we're really close on time. But a location page really tells about that city, some landmarks. It might have pictures of that city, like the library or whatever. Really giving it foundation that whenever AI or even SEO looks at that page, you're going, oh, they really are there. This is not just
I
a
see, yeah.
passer buyer, right? And then it talks about how you do certain things in that neighborhood, or it might be actually referencing a neighborhood. So it's much different from a homepage.
So I need to create new content for all that.
No, not really. It's
Oh, you
it's something we can do with a
okay.
prompt.
I like it.
I just want to put something out there that I learned this a long time ago, yet I see few people doing this. Is there a certain percentage of a business's gross revenues should be spent on marketing? And they said it's about 10%. And so, if you're doing $500,000 a year, that means you just need to spend about 50 grand on marketing. Sounds like a lot, but it's only
It does.
10%.
Yeah.
It's only 10%. And I'll be honest with you, I go out to clients, and most of my clients, we do something, let's just say an average of $1,500 a month. And that's a stretch for them. It's because they haven't done this third piece, which is one of the pillars of the reason why they're struggling, is they cannot afford to be in the marketplace when your customers are looking for you. They're not ready. They
Well,
can't be found because they're
and
doing no marketing.
yeah, and on the flip side of that, I saw you take one company and 10x it to the point where the owner of the company, no longer could participate in side events. He has to work in and on his business specifically because they got so many new clients. So I know it's possible. I know.
Good news on that. Good news on the front. The rumor is he's about to get back on his business instead of in his business. So,
oh, good. Yeah, I'm good. He must have found some more people. He's a really good guy too. I think that, like I said, I talk to a lot of people in marketing and social media, which is part of marketing, is everybody knows they need it. Not everybody is willing to spend for it or allocate funds for it or make it a priority. And unfortunately, especially now, especially with AI, if you don't, it's just going to be harder. One of the biggest eye-opening things you did for me, and it hurt really bad. I just want to say up front, I was crushed, is when I went to the South Africa digital marketing person, because I didn't want to burden you with my stuff at the time. And she didn't make any headway at all, nothing. I spent all that money for no reason. And you said to me, it's because you don't have a presence in the stratosphere. You don't have a presence on the internet, in social media. Even though we were doing stuff, it wasn't enough. It wasn't the right things. It wasn't in the right places. And now it definitely would have been worse because it wouldn't been AI. Yeah. So that hurt. And I think about that when I do 5-day challenges for people, to say, hey, this is really important, because even if you're doing one post a week, which is better than nothing, it isn't enough.
Yeah.
What does your content accelerator do? 5 posts a week, plus a blog, plus an email, plus all this stuff, and plus video. You know how much time that takes for people, not for you, but for the general Joe Schmo like me. I can't fit that in. Yeah, it's a lot. And so when there's a tool out there that does it for you, by all means, you should take advantage of that. It's another one of those things about, what do I outsource? And I've pitched this a million times. Outsource it to the content accelerator. Let somebody else do it for you. They know your business. They can put content out there that is legitimate and productive for building your brand and getting you attention and getting people to come to your website. And that's what people need. So we'll just keep telling people that's what it is, and they have to do it.
That's it. Well, I think one of the challenges, if we peeled that back just a little bit to marketing, is they're not sure what to market. And I've come across over the years, in the 16 years I've been doing this, Leslie, is, you go to somebody's homepage and it's what I call the chest beating page. I'm the greatest of this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. And instead of saying right on the homepage, I can help you solve your problem. I understand what you're struggling with, and this is how we do it. This is what we can do. So in other words, it's like you're meeting your ideal customer where they're at, not saying, oh, I'm so great. I'm so great.
Yeah,
sorry, that's not what I was looking for. I was looking for somebody who can help me and understood where I'm at. And so if you're listening and you go and look at your homepage and you say, wow, yeah, it is all about me. It's not even talking about my customer. I would challenge you to rethink that and say, wow, what can I put up there that emphasizes I understand where my customers are at and I can appreciate their struggle and I can be with them there.
absolutely.
Not I'm the greatest.
I teach that all the time. What's in it for me from their perspective? Why would I want to hire you? I have a special, unique situation, as you know, because my client base is younger and I'll do it yourselfer. So task based promotion does not work anymore. It has to be experience based. And that's what we're working on. It's on my to do list for this week to get you new content for that. So that we can update the website, probably both of them, but in particular, Executive Aaron, so that it mirrors the new promotional pieces that I'm doing to address the same thing.
Yeah. Well, let's just recap 3 reasons why a small business struggles to grow. One, you don't have processes. We've talked about
Right.
that. The second is you're working in your business instead of on your business. The third, you've allocated no money for marketing. Nobody knows who you are. And every
Right.
day, I think somebody said there's 40 million small businesses in the US.
Wow.
And there are more every day that come online. Now there's coming and going, but an average of that many. And you're trying to jump in and wondering why nobody knows your name. You're spending no money on getting that out there.
I
So
know.
those are the 3 reasons. Think about that, and put it in the comments. What's your thought? What's the one area or 2 areas, God forbid 3, that you said, hey, these are things I can improve upon?
And then call me for a 5-day challenge and I'll help you fix it.
That's it. I'll put the 5. Let's see. Do I have that? Let me see if I have the 5-day challenge. Yeah. Go right here. Go to the link. I'll have Leslie read it because she
It's
likes to do the
concierge,
dashes.
I know, conciergebusinesssolutions.com/the dash 5 dash day dash freedom dash challenge. I don't know why we did it that way, but that will get you to the page where you can request time with me to do an initial conversation about whether a 5-day challenge is good for you and or when you'd like to schedule it. And they're free. These things are free, one-on-one, 5 hours over 5 days. And I promise you, you will get at least one good thing out of it, but probably a lot more than that.
I challenge you, if you're thinking, is this the right thing for me? I challenge you to go to conciergebusinesssolutions.com and look at the 5-day freedom challenge page and look at the testimonials. These people are already very successful and they are
Yeah.
they're just gushing on what they got from this 5-day challenge. So I challenge you to go take a look at that and then
Yeah.
sign up. You can't afford not to because it's in your wheelhouse of free.
Yeah.
But it's
Maybe I
way
should charge
beyond
for it.
priceless.
Maybe I should charge for it and then people think it has more value. I don't know.
Probably, you got to get to that point when you say, you know what, I can't take any more on because I'm busy. It's time to raise the rent. So
Yeah.
with that,
Yeah.
Leslie, we're going to sign up. My name is Jeff Harrison. I own a company called Swing Point Media. We do digital marketing and AI automation and creation here in the Coachella Valley, but we're not limited because it is global. And yeah, with my partner,
Leslie Spoor of Concierge Business Solutions, where we make your life better through all kinds of tools for the lifestyle management industry.
thanks for joining us again today on the Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted Entrepreneur Podcast. Make sure to sign to give us a 5-star review and also give us a little comment and share. Thank you. Until next time, take care.
Bye.